There is an awesome group of individuals, commonly the unsung heroes of the entertainment touring industry. They pull impossible hours, complete amazing feats of concentration and willpower while maintaining a safe and comfortable environment for their guests who run the gamut of the entertainment spectrum. These fantastic professionals know the ins and outs of the highways and byways that we all must travel, and they get the crews of the tours we love from one venue to the next. We are the entertainment tour bus drivers. Welcome to Live from Nowhere, a broadcast to benefit entertainment tour crew members who are currently out of work. I'm Neville Shende from Pioneer Coach, and I'll be your host today. Joining me is Wendy Holt, Tyrone Jones, Anthony Rivera, Leroy, David Smitty Smith, and Donald Croslin. Welcome. As we get started today, drivers, please tell our audience a little bit about yourselves and the acts you have worked with in your illustrious career. Wendy, why don't you get us rolling?
Hey, you guys, my name is Wendy. I've been driving entertainment coaches for 5 years now. I've driven such acts as Chris Stapleton, Casey Musgraves. I've been on the KISS Tour, 21 Pilots, driven Joe Nichols, Hunter Hayes. I'm currently working back in emergency medical services as an advanced EMT. I've been an advanced EMT for 16 years, and since I've came back, they're keeping us really busy, and it's getting busy now, so I got to jump off here. It's been great talking to you guys.
Wendy, sorry to see you go, but thanks for checking in with us. I'd like to give out a big kudos to all the EMTs, doctors and nurses working tirelessly out there during these unprecedented times. And thank you for your sacrifices and all you're doing. All right, so let's go on to the next one. Tyrone, tell us a little bit about you and some of the people you worked with in your illustrious career.
Well, I've been in the business since '91. I've toured with multiple artists and crew. I've been, I guess, most recently Elton John, Alice Cooper, Motley Crue, Lenny Kravitz, to name a few. So I've been around for a little bit. So I would say I would know a little bit about the business.
I've been everywhere, man. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Anthony, tell us a little bit about the artists and how you got in the industry and things.
Oh, my name is Anthony Rivera. I've been in the industry only 4 years now. I've been here for 4 years. I've been with the Mavericks, very good tour. I've been with 21 Pilots, KISS, Orange Mandolin, Dave Matthews, and some other artists and everything. And I really enjoy it. It's
awesome.
Nice.
Hey, Leroy, let's go to you. Give us a little fill in on some of the artists and how you got into the industry too. How did you get in there?
Well, so about 15 years ago, I moved to Nashville to pursue the music side of things, singer-songwriter. Did some touring, did some of that stuff, and was doing I had a band called The Roys, my sister and I, and did some driving on the side, and got asked to do more and more of that as I wasn't touring. So went to work for a company, and inevitably it landed me where I'm at now with Pioneer Coach, and got to go out with Casey Musgraves, Dave Matthews Band, 21 Pilots, just a bunch of different people, Dispatch and Bleachers, and a bunch of great artists that I really enjoyed being with, and can't wait to get back out there.
So some star car driving, N12 bunker and crew stuff too. Yeah,
I've done a little bit of both. Drove actually when this all hit, I was out driving Grace Potter. So just a little bit of both sides. So it's been fun.
All right, Smitty, your turn, brother.
Yeah.
I'm sure you got some stuff.
It's good that, like Tyrone, I've been in the business a long time. You and I worked together at Four Seasons, right, Tyrone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, over there with Dave Matthews and stuff when Four Seasons was at the top of their game. and stuff. But I started in the early 80s too with Billy Squire, Elvis Costello. I spent a lot of years with Iron Maiden, Guns N' Roses when they were doing clubs. I did a lot of the early like Public Enemy, Queen Latifah, and the OJs, the Temptations, along Motley Crue and rock. I mean, so like Tyrone, we've covered pretty much all the music genres,
Right, a very eclectic blend, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Nice.
We've been around a long time.
Awesome. Donald Croslin,
Hey guys.
your turn. How did you get in this thing, and who have you driven?
Well, I started with Village Tours here in Oklahoma City, and a friend who is a caterer kind of was talking about driving his drivers and stuff, and I looked and I found Pioneer, and I've been very happy. I was out with Brad Paisley. I've driven Old Crow, Humphreys McGee, Mavericks, Alabama, Lori Morgan, and I'm just chomping at the bit. I'm ready to get back.
I think all of us are ready to get back on the road.
Sitting around the house on welfare ain't for me.
Well, I'll tell a little bit about myself. I was a guitar tech way back in the late 90s for a band called Blessed Union of Souls. And after 9/11, when everything shut down and Blessed lost their contract, I did my first bus gig with Aerosmith for a crew driver that couldn't get across the border. I was born in Canada, so it was easy for me to get across the border when they were getting tight. And pretty much the rest was history. Once I started driving and found out how much money bus drivers were making back then, you guys remember overdrives and all that stuff. And I just stayed with it. And I was one of the first hires as a driver here at Pioneer Coach, and stuck it out here and did 8 years of driving. And then the boss asked me if I would come in and run the driver department, which I am doing. And I've met all of you guys, Tyrone and Don and Smitty, they work for me. And it's been great. I mean, I can't really see myself in another industry. I just love the music industry. I love the people we deal with. I mean, the tour managers, because of my guitar tech background, I'm able to converse well with production managers and understand the nuances and logistics that they need to deal with. And it's been a great career, and I love all of you guys. It's a tough one. We're traveling men. That's what we are. We're travelers. Yeah, let's move on to like a typical day, because a lot of our audience, the people that are out there, aren't really familiar with the what goes on behind the scenes and the transportation. They just see what the artists play in front and they're all excited about the show, but there's a lot of gears and pieces that make this thing work. And so describe to our viewers a typical day, or what a typical day looks like for you. So, you know what, let's start with you, Tyrone.
Well, a typical day is basically getting up in the morning, showering, getting ready to go. If you have the crew, of course, sometimes it's early morning. You got to be up about 5 or 6 and be in front of the hotel and have the bus ready to go to take your crew to the venue to set up or whatever. And the main thing is about being on time, because if you're late, that will reflect on you. So, because everything we do is timely. I mean, you can't afford to be late. They may allow one time or so, but even they frown on that. So you got to make sure if you got one alarm, you probably need to set 3 where you can get out there and get there. But basically picking up the people, taking them to the venue, making sure everybody's comfortable. And for me, I try to have coffee ready or whatever. So that's what they're looking for most of the time, because some guys gonna come down at the last minute and not get coffee, so they looking for when they get on the bus. But basically just getting there, setting up, and and once everybody, because you have staggered times for a lot of drivers, so everybody doesn't come at the same time, and kind of just set up and make sure everything is good before you go back to the hotel, and you go to hotel, eat, and go to sleep, and get ready for the next day. The same thing.
Right. Roll to the next city and move on. Hey, Leroy, why don't you tell us a typical day in the life of a driver driving the artist?
Well, depends on the artist, really. You know, there's, like Tyrone was saying, I mean, one of the things that I always go by is, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. So I always make sure that, if it's a 1 o'clock lobby call, I try to be there at, 10 till 1 or 5 till 1, make sure that I'm there. And with the artists, it's a little different because, and I know everyone here has done it, has driven artists or whatever, but it's the typical thing of a lot of times it's, there's spas involved. There's making stops at their favorite grocery store, Starbucks. There's a Whole Foods. There's times where, you might have 2 days off between shows, but because you're 400 miles from their home, you're now bringing them home instead of going to the next town and having a day off. It's all part of the game, And then the other thing too is I always reached out to the tour manager when I was hauling an artist to know if there's any special needs, if there's a certain type of, they may want French press, they may not want, I know the last artist I drove did not want a coffee maker or Keurig, they want an espresso. So, there's just finding out those things and doing a little research. I drove an artist that I found out that she really liked lilacs. So at one of the pickups, I had a bunch of lilacs in a vase, and I know it sounds corny, but it breaks that ice and it makes it where, they feel like you actually pay attention to what they want and what they need. And, other than that, it's just, if I always said, if I had the time, if the clock allowed me, I would tell them, if I have the clock, I'll use up the whole clock to get you there. I'll drive 50 miles an hour all night if that's what you want me to do. So there's just, you just got to cater a little bit more to the artist, because a lot of times they don't need to be at the venue. A lot of times you're taking them straight to the hotel instead of the venue. So it's just, it varies. And then I've had artists where it's literally whatever the crew does, that's what they want to do. So, which is right on, just go to the venue.
Hey,
Yeah.
Smitty, let's go to you. Like, you've been the lead driver for the Dave Matthews Tour with us and for a number of tours. Tell me a typical day in a lead driver. And when I say lead bus driver, I'm talking about sort of the audience tours that have more than 4 or 5 buses. They might have 32 semis and maybe 8 buses and an artist coach, etc. So Smitty, give us a little glimpse into that world.
Well, let me see. I guess hopefully you got a group of drivers that you've worked with and got a few miles under their belt, so they kind of know the name of the game. Sometimes you work with drivers that maybe been in the business longer than you, and a lot that are maybe just starting, and looking for guidance and stuff. But what I always try and do is, just be available for any questions, and keep it in-house and stuff like that. Usually get to know the lead truck driver, talk to him about parking for loaded and stuff like that, where he wants us, and so we're not in the way. Making sure, drivers check their routing 2 or 3 times.
Right, so they don't just rely on you.
Right. I mean, it's all right for a first couple of times, but after a while, it's like, come on, let's check the map. Look at if you got a question, discuss it at catering in the morning or something. Be on time when it comes time to the runner shows up to go to the gig and stuff. And like I say, just whoever's the lead driver. Whether you disagree with him or agree with him, he's still kind of in charge, and you just sort of do what he says. Sometimes he may tell you to go this route. You might go, well, there's a better route, and say, well, you know what, this is the way we're going. We want us all together and stuff.
Yeah, I'll just explain something to the audience. The reason there is a lead driver a lot of times on these larger tours is because the tour manager, production manager just wants one person coming into the office because they're so busy. They would rather have just one person than say 8 drivers coming in asking the same questions and logistics. And like Smitty was mentioning, a lead driver also nowadays with electronic logs coordinates with the office, like myself or Mike Zaratica, with coordinating co-drives and where they fly into and where they're helping and where they fly out of, just so that you all kind of understand that. And then on these multi-bus tours, of course, you'll always have a bus that's like a mechanic's bus that'll have parts for the bus carrying, and a guy who's pretty adept with the mechanics and has a good aptitude with fixing things. So that leads me to Anthony. You've a lot of times been on these multi-bus tours, and your bus has been designated as the parts bus. Can you tell us a typical day from your perspective, Anthony?
Well, my regular day is, like everybody else, wake up in the morning and do the long drives and everything every night. But usually when you get to the venue, it's not that the day is over once you get there and park and that's it. You always have to make sure that there's a lot of complaints. Hey, my AC, it's not working, or my belt just broke and I need a new belt. My alternator is not working on the generator. I need something, it's all mechanics, but even though sometimes they say, hey, the Wi-Fi on the system, it's not working. We're not getting internet. So I have to check the internet. There's a lot of more things just than driving. There's always something that, check the AC, check my Wi-Fi. If my belt just broke off or something like that, I need a new belt. Simple things like that. But
Yeah, what was that, Tyrone? I kind of caught that a little bit.
I said driving is the easy part.
Oh yeah, it's the wrenching. Well, the people don't realize these buses are putting 80,000 miles a year on them or more.
Yeah.
So, and they're constantly running, especially like a generator is almost running. You got 365 days a year, is probably running about 200 at least.
Yeah.
Especially at the generator. Sometimes the generator, it doesn't want to start. You have to troubleshoot it, trying to find out why the generator is not working. Why? And there comes the troubleshooting in part, and then getting in touch with the office and the maintenance and everything like that, and getting me where to go and where to look and everything like that. That's where, just to get everything situated, for the tour, whatever the tour wants, Sometimes they say, oh, the generator is not working, the power cord is not working, or whatever it is.
Right. So you as a mechanic bus, a lot of times you coordinate with our shop manager or, whichever company the people are working for, they would communicate with their mechanic shop for shipping out certain parts and keeping track of which parts are going to what buses. And I guess when you have a multi-bus tour, the whole idea is like we all in the same sandbox playing together. Have you ever like lent out parts to another bus company that's out on the tour and then we replace and do that kind of stuff? I would hope so, because we are all in this together.
There was one bus company, I can't remember the name of it. We had to give him a belt because one of the belts of the engine went out and he didn't have one. But yes, he replaced it back and everything like that just to keep him going.
And that's what I like, is the idea of, we're all working together. We're like one brotherhood or sisterhood of travelers, and our specialty is the entertainer coach and concert touring. Hey, Donald, you've done a lot of single bus tours, buses with trailers. Can you give us a typical day in something like that? Like
Yes.
the tours, doing the smaller venues.
It is the truth. It is the truth. Especially Anthony's talking about, and Tyrone, the driving. That's the easy part. The generator. We left Kennewick or in Canada with Brad Paisley. Didn't get out of town 10 miles, and they had a bus breakdown. And we got a line of 3, 4, 7 buses, and he blew a belt that no one else had. We're there for a couple hours, trying this belt and trying that belt. And we got him there without a belt. But it's just, yeah, the driving. Oh my God.
Isn't it? I would use the adage that it's like a lot of times it's improvise, adapt, and overcome. And kind of like that MacGyver show, it's like learning. I've seen buses where they've cut a garbage can in half and stuck it because the fan belt wasn't working, and you got this homemade scoop on the side of the bus, and you're kind of like going, really? Well, it works.
It works.
Yeah,
Done that.
It works.
My wife tells me, you don't work, you just drive around. It's like, yeah, but but I do it 24/7. I'm not telling anything. I'm not telling anything new here, but I mean, you wake up somewhere and you go, where the hell am I at?
Speaking of waking up and wondering what city you're in, we're going to play a little skyline game. What town is that? So each of your contestants will have 5 pieces of paper which to write your answers on, and you're going to see a skyline pop up and write down which skyline, what city you think that is. All right, you ready? Let's go. All right, show me your answers.
Mine's
wow. You're all, you're all right.
back.
Awesome. All right, number 2. Take a look. All right, let me see your answers.
I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, wow. You guys are doing great.
That's
Awesome.
the right answer?
Yes, correct. The Mundo right across the board.
What's that building with the antennas on? What's that?
Sears Tower, isn't it?
Sears Tower.
Sears Tower.
Nice.
I
I
usually
love
suck
this.
at games, so.
All right, number 3. Let's see if you can guess this one. Take a look. All right, let me see your answers. Wow. There's a hat trick right across. What was that, Chaz? That was awesome. Show me the. Oh, I love that. Okay, that's funny. Now that's funny. All right, let's go to number 4. See if you guys can go 4 for 4. All right, number 4. Take a look. All right, show me your answers. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I missed that.
Oh, we got one. Don.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we didn't go 4 for 4.
Bingo.
But that's okay. Let's finish it off with number 5 so that we can make a winner out of this one. Take a look. All right, show me your answers. Yep, Stanley Cup champions last year. There you go. Wow, look at you guys. That's really good.
The
Awesome.
bridge threw me, man. I was trying to think city with the big bridge, and I haven't been to San Francisco in a while, so it did not.
Oh, well, you picked Baltimore. I'm like, huh?
There's a big bridge in Baltimore.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I when I was looking at the Skyline trivia game, I was wondering, okay, I wonder who routed this tour, because you go New York to Chicago, which is 719 miles, Chicago to Seattle. Now we need a co-driver for sure. That's over 2,000 miles. Then Seattle to San Fran is 811 miles, and San Fran to St. Louis is 2,000 miles. You might as well just keep the co-driver with you.
The one for Seattle, I almost put the CN Tower for Toronto.
Oh, Toronto. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
that's true. That's very true. So after this, since we're doing this trip and some crazy booking agent just booked this tour, New York, Chicago, Seattle, San Fran, St. Louis, let's talk about bus rules, because some of the audience probably doesn't know or haven't traveled on bus, but all our crew members would definitely know this. The buses are a very important and delicate environment. We sleep up to 12 per bus, sometimes 8 if it's condoed, or star cars with a master suite in the back. And this is where everyone lives while they're on tour, in between stops where they give it their all at each and every show. Everyone has different levels of cleanliness, hygiene, sobriety, senses of humor, yada, yada. In order to keep a harmonious living situation for all, let's start by talking about some of the rules that govern our clients' stay on these mobile hotels of pleasure. Tyrone, why don't you start us off? Some of the bus rules.
Well, first of all, you have to remember that you're on a bus. So I tell my clients, so when moving around, always make sure you remember that, because if I have to make a sudden stop for some odd reason, because some idiot jumped in front of me or whatever, I don't want you sitting up there with me, beside me, or going out the windshield. Also, of course, bathroom rules, never do number 2 on the bus, and basically no solids in the bathroom. Be considerate of others that's back there sleeping while you probably can't sleep and you up. So kind of keep your music to a minimum, use headphones, because you got to always remember that you're not the only one on the bus. There are 12 other people, but some guys, they get on the bus, they it's their bus, so they want everybody to do what they want, done. And you have to remind them that, you're basically a family, in a small environment, that you have to be considerate of other people's needs and what's going on. And basically that's it. Just basically be considerate of everybody else's feelings and what's going on around them, instead of you just being concerned about how you feel. If you're too cold, too hot, too cold, get a blanket. You're too hot, I guess go get a fan or something and blow in your face. You're never gonna please everybody.
Yeah, no, that's true. Hey, Smitty, what, you got any outside of the box bus rules?
Pick up with a long trip. You want to pick up after yourself. Don't leave stuff on the counters that could slide off. Break on the floor. Like Tyrone says, no number 2s. Just be courteous, because there are, you're a family. Like the one when you're on long trips, there's always guys that stay up late drinking and stuff. And the one thing I like about a long trip is, the last guy up who's always wanting to talk to somebody, he knows that the bus driver is always awake. You always get someone that comes up, he doesn't want to go to bed and he just wants to talk. So what I do is I leave the cases of water in the jump seat, and I'll either turn the heat up when someone comes up front. I'll turn the heat way up or make it really cold. So that's one of my bus rules, and it's just long trips are interesting. You stop for fuel. You tell everyone if you got to get something, hop out and get it, and you get all done fueling up and paying everything, and you get ready to pull out, and there's the one guy who just woke up and was like, I got to go in and use the bathroom, or I got to get some coffee, and you've been there for 20 minutes, and it's mostly it's either the front of house guy or a band member, one or the other. But you can't really say anything, you just sort of roll with it. But drivers are always on a schedule, trying to beat morning rush hour or something.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
Hey, Don, do you got anything to add to the bus rules?
No, sir. I echo these gentlemen. I mean, they're spot on. Again, if I do anything, I very rarely have had anyone who doesn't already know the rules. The no number 2 in the loo. That's verboten. Don't do that.
Anthony, you got anything to add? Bus rules?
The only thing I always told the clients, especially when they like to drink and everything like that, I always tell them, make sure the bottles are put away before you go to bed, emptied or whatever, or just if you don't want to throw them away, just put them inside the sink. Just make sure that doesn't slide off or anything like that, or computers or the top of the desk or anything. Nothing that will slide off the counters, or I always say, usually when I get to the gas station or a rest area or something like that, and if you're going to leave the bus, at least leave a lanyard on front of the door or something like that. That I know if I come back, if I see a lanyard there, I know somebody's off the bus. So I always tell them, hey, make sure you leave the bus, make sure you leave a lanyard on top of the seat or on top of my seat. That way I know if I'm going to sit down, I see that lanyard.
Leroy, you got anything to add to the bus rules?
No, usually if it's they've pretty much covered all of it. The one thing is, especially if I know I'm hauling I had a band about 3 years ago. It was their first time in a tour bus, and the first week that I did the sheets, I realized that most of them were, not most of them, probably about 3 of them were sleeping with their head facing the front of the bus. So I had a little meeting, and most people that don't know would think it's not a big deal, but I told them that I would advise not doing that, and I explained that if we were to get into a serious wreck, and if your head was up against where the front of the bus towards the front, you'd have a lot of damage to your neck or whatever. And they were like, "Oh, thanks," And then the other thing too that everybody brought up was the no rule number 1. There is no number 2. The big thing too is anybody that's ever questioned that, I've always said, hey, if you love the smell of a Porta-John, then it's probably a good idea to, by all means. But the problem is it's even more than that, is that it tends to get clogged. The system will get clogged, and then the drivers have to put on your big rubber hazmat suit and get under there and start taking stuff apart and cleaning it. And so, yeah, it's just that's kind of the big one right there.
All right, let's discuss what you were doing when everything's changed and we suddenly had an abundance of unexpected free time. I guess extended vacation, so to speak. Let's start with you, Tyrone. Where were you when everything just kind of stopped and you had to turn around and come home?
Well, I was at the end of a tour, actually. I was on tour with REO Speedwagon, and we were doing the last couple of shows up in Minneapolis at the casino up there. And we had heard about it the night before that there was a chance they might shut everything down. So they didn't get the chance to do the show, even though we stayed there those couple of days, but they didn't do the show. They thought they were going to do the show. They bagged the truck up to the dock, and they was gonna unload it, but they said, well, wait a minute, because we need to see for sure we're gonna do the show. They hate to unload everything, gotta load it back. And they said by 1 o'clock they should know for sure. And sure enough, by 1 o'clock they canceled everything. So I ended up missing the last couple of days of work from that, but that was about it. And basically I just headed back to Alabama after that.
Were you deadheaded, or did you have people on board?
I had people, but no, they all took shuttles to airports because they had different times that they were leaving. And basically, I just deadhead back because everybody else, and that was the last couple of shows. So it actually kind of worked out in my favor in a way, because I didn't really miss too much time, and they didn't either. Just that one show they didn't get a chance to have.
Interesting. Hey, Smitty and Anthony, you two were on the same tour, weren't you, when this all happened?
Yeah, the KISS tour.
Yeah, describe that.
It shut down in Tulsa, Oklahoma on March 15th. Showed up to do the load-in, and the show canceled. And I guess the night before they shut down a basketball game that was supposed to be there, I guess. And so that was the start of it.
So did you travel with clients, or how did that work?
We had to drop people. We took some people to Dallas. Some people went up to Chicago. But, we all bounced around and stuff to drop people off at airports and stuff like that. It was, yeah. And, there was talk before that, about a couple of weeks before everything shut down, everyone talked about the virus, shutting down in Europe and blah, blah, blah. And we kind of joked about, oh, could be out of work. Never thinking that it would possibly happen. I mean, it's like crazy.
No, I get it. Anthony, where did you go? Right? Did you and Smitty travel the same route, or did you guys split up?
I believe they went to Dallas and all that. Some of them went to LA, Chicago, but I came straight to Nashville. I think it was only me who came straight to Nashville and all that after the tour. I had different people on my bus, but different crew people and all that. But yes, I came straight home.
Yeah, it depends. Hey, Don, where were you?
In Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, with Brad Paisley. Same thing. They was, rumoring about this, and we had one more show. We was going to go to Medicine Hat, and then down to the Houston Rodeo. Well, they canceled the Houston Rodeo, and it's like, oh crap, and everybody's, speculating what's going on, and then they canceled Medicine Hat, and that was it. But we drove straight back to. We dropped somebody off in Minot, North Dakota, and then we just came straight back to Nashville.
Right, and then Leroy, where were you?
I had just gotten to Vancouver.
Who were you with?
I was driving Grace Potter.
Right.
And got to Vancouver to start the last 3 weeks of the tour. And me and another bus, we had deadheaded out there, 5 days out there. Got there the day before the show. The tour manager called me and told me that Seattle and Oakland had dropped from the tour. And there was rumors that LA was going to drop. And he told me if LA drops, they were probably going to cancel the whole leg of the tour. And so he called me the morning of the show and said, bring the buses over. We're going to, Vancouver's on. We're going to do the show. So we brought the buses over. They loaded in. And Shane and I, the other driver from the other bus, we went to our hotel and went to bed about 2:30 in the afternoon. And about 5:45, my phone rang. I had the tour manager on my favorite list on my phone, so it rang through. And I knew when I saw his name on the phone, it wasn't good news. And he said, we're going to do the meet and greet. We're going to do Vancouver tonight, but we're going to stay the night in Vancouver, and then we're done. The tour's gone. And about 30 minutes later, he called me back and said, Vancouver just dropped. So we're heading home. So we were in Vancouver for about 30 hours and loaded the buses up. Everybody went back to the hotel, and me and Shane took the 2 buses and deadheaded back to Nashville.
Since we've had this unexpected time and, time to do the honey-do list and get side hustles, what have you been up to? Let's go with Anthony. What have you been up to?
Hey, I'm enjoying my vacation. That's what I'm doing.
Awesome.
I'm enjoying my vacation time.
Are you getting a tan there in Florida?
Oh, yeah. I was getting, I was trying to do some exercise and get into my Speedos and all that,
Oh, I don't want to picture that. Oh, get that out of my head.
The wife is taking care of me, feeding me well and all that, and spend some good time with the family. And it's been great, Plus, I've been doing some part-time job, trucking and all that here in Florida, heading down to Miami and everything, with plants and stuff. And now that I'm driving a truck, yes. And then for next week, I started a new company. I'm going to be doing some tanker jobs. So I'm going to be driving tankers over the road. And I'm going to be hauling everything food grade liquids and stuff like that. So.
Well, that's pretty cool. So you're keeping your CDL experience going then.
Exactly. So I'm keeping myself busy and everything like that lately, but this home time and spending time with the family and all that, it's been great. It's top notch right now.
How about you, Leroy?
Same thing. I've been the honey-do list, and I keep adding to it and finding more things to do. And the home time has been a blessing. As Tyrone said before we started all this, the being home like this was not even an option. You know, usually you're home for maybe a couple of weeks in December, maybe 3 weeks in December, and then you're back out. And so that's been a blessing. And I've been doing, you know, just some side hustles, and doing some work at my daughter's house and my sister's house and neighbors, and just keeping busy and keeping my fingers crossed and praying that, you know, we get to go back to work.
Yeah, truth. Don, what have you been up to?
I've been fishing.
Oh, fishing. There you go.
Been fishing
That's
a lot.
exactly what you do on vacation. That's awesome.
Taking care of my hunting properties and fishing. Obviously, the honeydew list. It's funny that, you know, when I'm out on the road and everything, it's like, oh, I can't wait to get back home. And then I get home, it's like, man, I can't wait to get back out on the road. So, like I said, I'm, you know, this is all well and good, and I'll just be glad when it's over.
Smitty, what are you doing?
Well, we've been doing yard work, painting. In fact, I was just putting some shocks on the wife's car when this meeting started up, and had a new roof put on the house. You know, and getting back, this is one of the reasons why I liked working on the road, because I could just run away from all this responsibility, just do it. You know, I mean, I just send the money home and hire somebody to do all this stuff. So it's, you know, it's interesting. I mean, this could be my early retirement. You know, I wasn't, you know, none of us were planning on sitting around this long. I thought this thing would, you know, we'd be out of work for maybe a month, you know, it'd just be like a little thing.
I'm trying to stay positive, and I know a lot of the public out there are just starving to get out and see some shows and get back to see their favorite artists, and nothing can take place of live, like being there. Tyrone, what have you been up to?
Well, basically nothing. You know, I don't have a wife or anything, but my mom is still living. She's 5 minutes away, so I've been doing the mama do list. So just, she's up in age, she'll be 84 this year, so I just been kind of making sure she has what she needs, because usually I'm out of town, so I worry about her when I'm gone. But I've been having a chance to do things for her, and just do stuff around the house, and just, you know, make ends meet. You know, I've been doing little odds and end work here and there to kind of keep me have a little something coming in. And you know, as you know, Texas unemployment is pretty high than most people. So with the extra money that they give you, you know, I'm doing pretty good right now. So, you know, but after July 31st, that might all change. So I have to look into probably going back into trucking or something like that. You know, but other than that, just taking it easy, just enjoying the vacation that, you know, that was unexpected, and, you know, getting plenty of rest. That's definitely for sure.
Right. Nice. So let's move on to, like, you know, why do we do what we do? Why do you guys like being entertainer coach drivers?
Because you love it.
You love the road?
Well, you have to, first of all and foremost, you have to kind of like, you can't just like to drive. You have to love to drive. If you like to drive, I guarantee you, sooner or later, you're going to get burned out real quick, especially with kind of runs that we don't too much do it now, what we used to do when we had tours where you have to go 800 miles in one day and you don't have a co-driver or anything. But of course, the rules have changed with all that. But you have to love to drive, and you definitely have to make sure you get your rest and be alert on what's going on, because you have to consider you have other people's lives in your hands that's you're responsible for. So you can't afford to make a mistake that you can't recover from, because it can happen. And you have to always be mindful. And I tell people, you know, because you have people that you haven't toured with, and they'll come and ask you, you know, well, how long you been driving, all this stuff, this and that. And basically they're trying to get a feel of the type of person you are. So I'll tell them, well, you don't have to worry about it, because I love myself. So if I go, everybody go. I ain't yeah, first one gonna go. So you ain't got to worry about me. I'm gonna take care of me. And if I take care of me, I know you'll be taken care of.
Yeah, good.
Well, you know, and to echo what Tyrone said, I saw in an office one day and I saw a sign, one of those wooden signs on a desk, and it said, "Find something you love to do and you will never work a day in your life."
Yep.
And I don't feel like I work. I really don't. I feel like I get paid to travel and see the country, and you know, I mean,
On somebody else's expenses.
yeah.
Well, I think the other thing, like what I used to love about driving is, especially like 3, 4 in the morning, it's my world. It's that office building, you going through the Rockies and stuff. And it's not like I'm living in an office or a cubicle and have someone breathing over my shoulder and checking on me. As long as I'm taking care of business, TCB, and I'm taking care of the client, I'm in a good place. And I mean, even whether it's snowing, you know, you adjust yourselves to the situations of the road, but what a great way to see the country and just, and plus you're also having camaraderie with people of like mind. They're travelers too. We all love music. We love what we're doing. We love traveling. We love seeing different cities, and we love people. And that's definitely the difference between someone that drives a bus and someone that drives a truck.
Yeah,
You know,
you have to be a people's person.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Yeah. So any of you others got, like, let's go into this. Anthony, what do you love about what you're doing?
The same thing. I mean, I visit places that I never dream of going. You know, I've been all over Canada, places that I've never been before. You know, and driving through the mountains, you know, driving every part of the United States and everything, you know. And it's a good thing because my wife is part of it also. Because there's time that, you know, I've been in New York City and we're going to be sitting down there for 4 or 5 days. I fly her out there. Then we just, you know, and she has a mini vacation just like me. You know, you go out, you have a hotel and everything. I just have to pay for the plane ticket.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Hey, Smitty, how come, like, why do you love what you do?
Well, I always loved to drive. You know, I mean, even when I first got my license, you know, I always loved to be the driver. But the reason, you know, I came from a mill town and I worked in a factory. So I was a machinist before I did this driving thing, and used to hang out at the commune, and they had a couple of buses. And I went on a road trip with them, and I said, this is a nice line of work here. It's the perfect party. You know, it's like, I got it. I enjoyed it in the beginning for the women, the money, the drugs. I mean, the whole party. It was, you know, back in the 80s, Tyrone will know exactly what I'm talking about. The industry was smaller. Every driver knew each other. You know, there was less bus companies, and but the one thing was we all had a good time, but we all took our job very seriously because we are driving people's lives, including ours. So for the first 20 years, it was pretty fun. You know, now that I've been clean and sober for 20 years, it's really just a job now, but it pays well. But I still enjoy driving. I still like meeting people. And like Leroy said, when I worked with Elvis Costello, it was early in my career, and we had an after-show party at the end of the tour, and I asked someone, I said, "Hey, how's my driving?" And they go, "Smitty, your driving sucks." You know, and he said, "But that's okay." He said, "You're a people person. You get along great with people, and that's what it takes to be in this industry. Your driving will all come later. That'll be easy." He said, "But if you can't get along with people, you might as well go home, you know?"
All right, this is my favorite part, actually. Crazy client stories. As entertainer tour bus drivers, we deal with a lot of different people, sometimes extreme characters, and we're all living on this bus together. So we get to see some pretty crazy things in our time, and some of them teach us good lessons. So I'll just start off with one that goes with my Prince story. When I drove Prince in 2004, I was his personal driver. And I remember picking him up, or hearing the story that, you can't talk to him, you can't look at him, you got to deal strictly with the security guard. One of my things that I tell drivers is, you know what, any hearsay, just throw it out of your head. Just be yourself and do the best you can with the situations that you're given. So I was told, you know, pick them up at Beverly Hills Hotel, and I got there like 2 hours early before I was supposed to pick them up. And it was a beautiful sunny day, and I have a brand new star car, had 5,000 miles on it. So I made sure it was shiny, standing tall. And I called the security guy, let him know that I was there and I was ready. And when I pulled the bus up to park it, I figured he was going to come out the side entrance. So I lined the bus and the door with the sidewalk so it would be an easy walk. And I let the security guy know. And I was outside polishing the wheels, you know, having to wait for quite some time. So making sure the bus was where it needed to be. And in my peripheral vision, I see this guy coming towards me, and he had this white t-shirt and raggedy old jeans, and he walks over and stops at the bus and look, and I'm thinking in my head, man, I'm picking up Prince and this guy's going to hang around, and that's the last thing I need. So the guy's looking at the bus and he goes, man, whose bus is this? And I kind of looked at him, and to segue in this, every bus had an Elvis #1 plate for me. I'm a big Elvis fan. So on the back, I had the regular plate and then the Elvis plate. So he came from that direction and he asked me, man, whose bus is that? And I go, Elvis. And he goes, man, Elvis is dead. And I go, shit, no wonder I've been waiting so long. So I get on the bus, open the door, and I started look through the window, and it's tinted so he couldn't see me. And I locked the door, and I'm just praying, please go away. It, like, be my luck, Prince comes out and here's this guy hanging around. And so 20 minutes, 30 minutes, he ends up walking away. 20, 30 minutes later, I get a phone call from the security guard, and he says, all right, we're getting ready. We'll be there in a few minutes. So I get off the bus, stand by the door so I can open it and he can have a direct walk on it. So sure enough, there's Prince and 2 bodyguards on either side walking towards me. That bodyguard over on my left, Prince's right, was the same guy that came up and asked me whose bus it was. And I thought immediately in my head was, I just got tested. If I would have said, this is Prince's bus, I would have been sent home. They would have said, no, we don't need you, gone. And that pretty much blew away the whole, you can't look at him and talk to him, because he walks right up to me. Prince looks up at me and goes, pleased to meet you, and gets on the bus. Security guard whacks me like really hard on the shoulder, says, good job, let's go. And from then on in, I was in. And so the moral of the story is discretion. You know, these artists, especially when you're driving stars, the public and people don't really need to know who you're driving, because it's their space, it's their privacy. I remember I told Prince one time when he was sitting up in the jump seat, I said, you know, I thought I was going to be an airplane chaser, because, you know, drop you off at a private and he flies. And he rode the bus everywhere with me. And I asked him one time, why you ride the bus all the time? And he said to me, this is the only place I get peace and quiet. This is my space. Because he'd have the 8-hour or 10-hour drive and no one would get a hold. He wouldn't have a cell phone. He'd use mine or the security guards. And that was his quiet place. And I get it, especially artists that are at that level. They want that, and you respect their space. You give them what they need. You look after them. We're servants. So that's my little story, but I want crazier ones from you guys. So Tyrone, tell me something that'll make me go, wow. So like, tell me a crazy client story.
I don't know if it'll make you go wow or not, but I was out with this artist. I'm not gonna call his name, but I don't know, he may watch this, but and I'm pretty sure some of you guys have had it too. You have guys that are just adequate about satellite. If the bus quit running, as long as the satellite running, they good. Well, I had this particular artist, he was like that, a big artist. And he didn't care the engine could fall out the back of the damn bus. As long as that satellite's working, he just sit there until somebody come fix it. So we were in Edmonton, I believe we were at Arena. And he was the lead singer of the band. So um, we couldn't get satellite signal. So I said, well, we can't get satellite. So his manager come up and say, well, he wants to get satellite. I said, well, it's not coming in. I said, maybe because we're, too far apart from the equator and all that. He was like, well, Tyrone, he got to have that satellite. I rode around in the arena parking lot for almost an hour and a half trying to get satellite, right? So finally we hit a spot where satellite come in. It was in the middle of the parking lot. He said, stop. I stopped right then. He said, this is where we're parking. I said, but we're in the middle of the parking lot, just, picking up about 8 or 9, 5 or 6, 7, 8 spaces. Yeah, I don't care. This is where we parking. Which we were a long way, we were way out in the parking lot. So we were a long way away from the arena. We could see the arena look like a half a mile away. But that's where he wanted to park. So he had the security come and put cones around the bus. And that's where we sat. And when he got ready to go on stage, they had to come out and with a golf cart or car, whatever, I can't remember, to pick him up to take him to the stage. But he did not want to move, and we stayed there. And I went to the hotel and I said, this is just totally ridiculous. But he was so adequate about satellite, he just had to have satellite no matter what.
The whole thing of the entertainment industry that people may not understand is each person, especially when you're talking about an artist, is the artist is actually the forerunner who creates the income. And that's why everyone's there to see them. So if you can cater to him so that he's relaxed and he can put on a great show, then you are contributing exactly how you should be towards the great big picture. And yeah, Tyrone, I give you kudos for the patience of driving around.
From that point, I was with him 3 years after that. I mean, he used me every time he wanted to go somewhere. Yeah. I need Tyrone because I guess I was the satellite man. And he knew I was gonna find him satellite no matter what it took. So that's about the funniest. It's several stories, but that one sticks with me all the time.
Anthony, what kind of stories you got?
Well, I got 2 of them that is pretty good. There was one night that for some reason I missed bus call, and it was right before Bakersfield, and what happened was that we were between zones. So the time zones and all that. So when I was supposed to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I put my clock, for 2 o'clock and everything. But for some reason, everybody's clock went ahead, before the wake up time, but mine didn't. So when it passed the hour, it somehow, I don't know how it happened that I missed my phone call for waking up. So here I got Tony and everybody calling me up and everything. If you're going to miss it for bus call and all that. And I'm like, but what time is it? So the thing is, I was already 3 o'clock in the morning, and I said, oh my God. So I woke up and everything like that. But when I got to bus call, it looks, my phone went forward when I was in the hotel, but when I got to the bus, it went backwards again. So it was just going back and forth with my phone, and I'm like, oh my God. So it was back before Bakersfield. I don't know, Smitty, I can't remember what venue we were in. But the thing is that after that, everything happened and all that, the next following day, I think it was like a day or 2 days later that we were in Bakersfield. So it looks like all the guys and the tour manager and all that, they brought me like NyQuil and no sleep zones and all that kind of medication. They brought me like 7 alarm clocks, and when I pick up the bag, they gave me the present, all the alarm starts going off and everything like that. And the manager put a big sign with a little hook so I can put it around my neck with a big clock on the other side,
Flavor Flav. Awesome.
Flavor Flav.
So they gave me all these medication bottles, for like, don't go to sleep or sleep well and all that kind of stuff. And 7 alarm clocks, and every one of them ringing on at the same time. So it was pretty fun.
Dude, that's pretty cool because you know they loved you. They wouldn't have done that if they didn't like you.
No,
That's
it
awesome.
wasn't.
Funny though, But it was just because we were in between that time zone that really screwed me up that day,
Mm-hmm. That's funny. You never want to miss your bus call.
No.
No.
There was one time I was in New York. We were heading up to Canada, and we stayed in New York for like at least a day or two. And the guys like to smoke a lot, And I told the guys, right before you go in, we go in through the border, make sure that, yeah. And I said, make sure that everything, it's put away and all that stuff, before we cross the border. And they said, oh yeah, no problem. And as soon as we got to the border, the guy comes in and gets everybody out of the bus and all that. And when the guys came inside, the officers went inside the bus and came back out and says, hey man, I smell something funny. If you guys want to tell me right now, if you guys have anything inside the bus. And one of the guys and everybody inside the bus was like, no problem. If you find it, don't worry about it. We spoke it before we go inside, And I was like, oh my God. It's just like, you can see the officers, they just smile and everything like that. It says, you know what, you guys are honest, just go, and we just go off. But there was another one that it was not unfortunate that we stayed almost there for almost 7-8 hours at the border, but it was coming from Nova Scotia back. And it just happened when I stopped at the border coming into the US, the lady, as soon as I opened the door, the lady went like this. She was, oh my God, just make sure that everybody gets off the bus, And when we got there, we stayed there for they never found anything, but it was just the smell itself, And we stayed there and they did some strip search on me and everything and everybody else on the bus. And, they did cavity search on everybody. So it was crazy.
Hey, Leroy, what do you got for me?
Well, kind of the story you said reminded me the story about the discretion. You had actually called me last year. I was on a tour and wanted to know if I wanted to go do this other tour. I won't mention the artist. But I was hesitant because this person didn't have a very good reputation amongst drivers. And so you had told me, it was a 2-week run. Just if you could do this 2-week run, let's get through this. And I was like, all right, that's what you need me to do. I'm going to go do it. So I had to deadhead to Phoenix to meet up with this artist, and they got the bus parked the morning of the show, and then went to the hotel that night. I got on the bus and didn't go out of my way to, introduce myself. The door was shut, so I didn't want to bother this person, and just kind of got my pre-trip going and kind of got ready to roll. And the door opened and this artist came down into the stairwell and shook my hand and said, thank you so much for doing this. I'm grateful that you're here. And long story short, the person ended up being probably, I'll say, top 2 best artists I've ever driven. And to this day, still, 7 months later, I still talk to this person on their terms. They'll reach out to me, and they, reached out to see how I was dealing with all this stuff. And so, and the one thing that this person told me at the last show last year was, you never treated me different than the guy that loaded in the show. I didn't, it was just, to me, they're all just people, right? I mean, right. So that's just kind of a testament to the fact that, we're out there to do a job, and it's if you can separate yourself from who you're driving and just do your job, goes a long way. That same artist, we were doing the Houston rodeo, and we pulled up, got ready to go into the main artist gate, and they said, all right, just wait here. The sheriff's going to come and escort you in because you got to drive through the grounds a little bit. And, so they said, I jokingly said, man, they're going to light them up and bring us through there. And, just joking with the police officer. And he goes, oh yeah, he'll have his lights on, and we were just cutting up. So I jokingly I saw this guy coming on a moped, a sheriff on a moped, cowboy hat, side pistols. I mean, the moped had like a long pole with the light, and I jokingly said to the artist who was sitting in the jump seat, I said, "There's your escort." And we kind of laughed. And sure enough, that was the escort. And this guy, they probably didn't have this person on a horse, because I don't think the horse could have carried this guy. He was a large dude. And he was sitting on this moped, and he came up and shook my hand, and had the hat crooked and the side pistol, and said, "All right, let's go." And I followed a moped with the horn going, and and it was just the funniest thing. And I so wanted to pull the footage off the dash cam and I thought, no, I'm not going to do it. But yeah, it was pretty funny. The artist did videotape, and I did go to that person's Instagram and to see if they post, but they had never posted anything about it. It was pretty funny.
That's a good story. Hey, Don, what do you got for us on crazy client stories?
I haven't been driving as long as these guys. I can't compete. I do have one. One of my favorite group was the Old Crows. Measure So guys are great. And we were at Floyd Fest in Floyd, Virginia, and I had Mr. Floyd was other driver, and I still have the video of this. 'Cause when we got to the bus, I stepped on the bus, and these guys, there's the tour manager, the mandolin player, the crew, these guys were literally rolling on the floor, just laughing hysterically. And it's like, oh God, what are we doing here? What they were doing, they were videotaping, shooting themselves in the hind end with this salt gun. Yeah, it's a bug assault gun.
Oh, dude, things to break up the boredom. The creative mind.
They were, yeah. I just, I've had, you've always had the guy that stays up late drinking, and you get to the venue, or you go to stop your fuel and you go into the back, and they're all passed out in the seat or something. But that was about the funniest thing.
That's pretty funny, shooting yourself in the butt with a salt.
Yeah. Oh, they had it. They'd back up, and then they shoot. And as soon as they'd shoot, the sound of the gun would go off, and they would just roll.
That's
That's
crazy.
the funny thing.
Well, speaking of shooting, let's go to Smitty. Smitty, you got a lot of. The reason I said the shooting, Smitty actually did get shot, but that's another story. And thank God he's still with us, because he's awesome. But Smitty, tell me you got like tons of crazy stories, but give me one that would, I know you've been around for a while. So
I got some, one that I guess we're talking about having an artist on board the bus, and something happened. Well, back in the early days, I drove an Eagle bus, and it was a manual shift, not an automatic. And I had a client on board with a big heavy metal band, and had his wife, nanny, and kids and stuff, and a security guy. And we're up in North Dakota in like kind of a ice storm. I'm cruising along, and on the old Eagles, they had a mechanical linkage instead of electronic. The linkage froze up, so I couldn't slow the bus down. I just driving along at 60 miles an hour, and I says to the security guy, I go, "Oh, geez, the throttle's stuck." And he goes, "Well, what are we going to do?" I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "I'll figure out something here." So I shut the bus off, and we sort of rolled to the side of the road. And I said, "Hey, I got an idea." So we went in the back lounge, and took up the engine cover where the engine is, and got a couple of walkie-talkies. And I says to the security guy, I said, "Look, this is the throttle right here. This is the throttle. Boom, boom. Disconnected the manual linkages." So I said, "You can do it." And as I'm explaining how to give it gas and stuff, the artist pokes his head out through the curtain in the bunk, and he looks at us, and he's looking, and he's listening to me explain how I'm gonna drive the bus, but he's gonna run the gas back here. And he just looks and he says, I don't know what's going on. He said, I don't really care. I just don't want to. And he just buttoned the curtain back up. And I went back to the front of the bus, and I said, okay, give me a little gas. And I let the clutch out. We drove, and I go to shift. And every time I shift, I told him, give me a little gas. Go on, give me a little gas. And we made it to a truck stop and pulled it in the garage and got the linkage thawed out and stuff. But that artist, I had driven for years, and, you know, he just, you built up a trust with him, you know, and he knew I was a crazy person, like the party, but he had complete faith in me on what we were doing. And so that's just the use, you know, when you talk about what drivers have to do on the road to overcome a lot of things, you have to use your ingenuity, and sometimes pretty crazy, but we always seem to get the job done, you know.
Hey, Smitty, is it true when you were with Iron Maiden, they gave you a laminate, all-access laminate, and didn't really put your name on it, just your face, and it said Mr. Party?
That's true. All my laminates from the 80s say Mr. Party on them.
Yeah.
So that was...
Well, your artists love that crazy guy, Mr. Party, and your artists love the guy named Smitty. Funny thing is sometimes our experiences help us deal well with others. And you know, you're always where you're supposed to be. And someone like you has a great testament of, you know, like burning, and then like the River Phoenix, like Phoenix, you know, rising again and getting through all the adversity and coming out well. And I love it. You're a great addition to the team. You're a great addition to all the people that you know, drive around safely. And that's a testament to all of you, Anthony, Leroy, Don, Tyrone, and all the drivers out there, no matter what company they work for. You know, I definitely hats off to all of you for doing what you do and doing it safely. And, you know, like what I always said, TCB, TCC, taking care of business and taking care of the client. And y'all do it well. And it's awesome. And I can't wait till we can get back on the road, you know, once again, hopefully soon. So, you know, in the short time, I just want to really thank all of you for being on this Zoom call. And I want to thank Wendy. She may have had to have left a little early, but thank you, Tyrone, Smitty, Leroy, Anthony, and Dawn. Thank you for being on this call. Really appreciate you and sending out prayers, and God bless to all of you. And I can't wait to see you out on the road when I do my PR visits to different groups, which is one of the parts I really enjoy. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in for this Live from Nowhere, which we're trying to raise awareness and funds for the unsung heroes of our entertainment industry who are currently out of work. So please donate, and you'll see us on the road soon, bringing your favorite artists to your city. I'm Neville Shende. I want to say thank you, peace out, and safe travels.
Peace.
Live from nowhere, trying to go somewhere.
Yeah, baby.